this video, I'm going to be trying to explain the significance of the movie The Black Panther using the help of some interview clips of the actors and actresses in the movie, Ryan Coogler, the director, as well as some of the other viewers that went to see it. Coming from a time where Black people were hardly ever shown in traditional media to becoming demonized by traditional media, being shown as animals and criminals in the most negative light, the drug dealers, crackheads, unfaithful cheaters, slaves, and all of these roles were made to portray them as bad people. And to now, where in Black Panther, they're being shown as kings, queens, intellectuals, warriors, sympathetic healers, technology experts, owners of immense wealth, world leaders, heroes. I think this movie is so hugely successful because it's part of a shift in, at least in traditional media, in the view that society has of Black people and of Africa. Representation matters way more than people care to admit.
I remember growing up in Brooklyn, sometimes the teachers had all the right ideas about what they wanted to do with us, you know what I mean? And so they would show us movies like, you know, like all these gangster films and things like that to try to warn us about gang culture and this or that. But they're using racist stereotypes and racist tropes to teach us about ourselves and our community, when that kind of served to just scare us against people who looked like us.
Right.
That just scared me against my own community, because I was like, I was new to the city. I was new to New York. I was new to America. So a lot of the times, even at school where they're teaching me about America and Blackness, was to scare me.
People are oftentimes affected by and influenced by their surroundings and the people that they have to look up to, and that's children especially. Comic books and superheroes can play a big role in children's lives. And if the only superheroes that they have to look up to is Batman, Spider-Man, Captain America, they're going to look at the superhero and then look at themselves and think, I'll never be able to be like them because we look so different. And then they're going to feel bad about who they are, and maybe they're going to feel bad about their skin color and think that there may be something wrong with them. Because they look at the big people who are successful in movies or whichever form of media you're looking at and say, there's nobody there that looks like me, therefore I will never make it there myself, and so I'm not even going to try to follow my dreams. And I feel like sometimes or oftentimes that happens because majority of superheroes are white males, and you may have, you know, a few Black characters or sidekicks here and there. According to a study on racial and ethnic representation in 2017 films, of the characters speaking on screen in the top 100 films, only 13.6% were Black, while 70.8% were white. Also, the most recent study found that of the top 100 films, there are no Black female characters in 47 of the top films.
I felt like I saw myself in Wakanda. I saw all of these beautiful women with dark skin and natural hair, all of these amazing costumes and armor that are actually from the continent of Africa. It was just really beautiful seeing myself as a piece of this royal and dignified and amazing society.
UCLA School of Sociology did a study of theatrical films between 2011 and 2015, finding that roughly 1 out of every 10 major films are directed by a minority, and a similar percentage cast minorities as their lead roles, and even fewer of these films are written by minorities. The fact that the majority of this movie's cast is Black, and I mean dark skin, beautiful people from all over the world. The director is Black, executive producer, the costume designer, production designers, and so on, is a big deal, and it's a huge stepping stone for Hollywood. And it will lead to future opportunities for Black actors, screenwriters, directors and what have you, and not being stuck in that sidekick comic relief role.
Which is well, amazing. You know, I feel like the fight before was to be seen. The fight before was to be recognized and have more opportunities. And I think what's really changing in the culture, the entire entertainment industry is a culture of ownership. So not only can we be seen, we want to own how we're represented. We want to own our narratives. We want to create our narratives, because before everyone was just creating it for us, and we had to kind of fill the roles and bring the integrity and be like, you know, we don't really speak like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, we don't do that. We don't do this.
Something that I appreciate about this movie is that it shows the female love interest as darker than the leading male role, which you don't see very often, and I love this movie for doing that. It shows powerful black women pretty much at the heart of Wakanda, and black female characters are extremely underrepresented in Marvel movies and in cinema in general.
The biggest reason, you know, is that you know, you're making you know, it's an African story. You know what I'm saying? And in that culture, you know, you see the women are kind of the backbones of that culture. You know what I'm saying? It's something that's known. Like, you know, you'll hear phrases like you can't have a king without a queen. You know what I'm saying? And the real thing is, like, you look at functioning societies. You know what I'm saying? You know, women are the backbones of all. And for me, as an African man that was born in the States, you know, our community, man, that's what keeps our communities running. You know
ready to fight first.
Yeah, and I think about my mom, my aunts, you know, my wife, you know, and even my comrades in filmmaking. You look at somebody like Ava DuVernay, who's like my sister. You know what I'm saying? You know, Ava a trailblazer that we all follow. You know what I mean? And you look at the history. You know what I'm saying? It's been like that. So for us to tell this African story and this story about the super advanced society, and not have that element, you know, and I think that's one of T'Challa's. I think that's probably T'Challa's greatest superpower in this movie, is the fact that those around him get empowered. You know what I'm saying? Like, he gonna bring out the best in the people around him, especially the women.
I think what's really special about this film is that we see an idyllic society that has figured out its gender dynamics, where women are allowed to assume their power, realize their full potential, and the men are not threatened by it. Yeah. You know, so that they can be of support to each other. Yeah. Which is the world we want to see.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Is that the message that you would like young girls to take away?
Yeah, I think
absolutely.
So.
I mean, what I love is that these women are also allowed to be fully feminine and fully fierce. You know, and there's no question, there's no compromise. There's not even a thought of compromise, because the country understands, in order to work at its absolute best, you want women at their fullest potential, and you celebrate that. So the idea that this might, also the character Shuri in the movie, who's this amazing young scientist, and you know, the idea that young girls out there could, even in any way, shape, or form, find more validation, more worth in understanding themselves, and knowledge that we can be fearless out there, and we should be, because it'll make the world a better place. I mean, that'll be everything for us to have that message.
Wakanda is advanced. They're not just the most technologically advanced nation on the planet. They're the most spiritually advanced in some ways. They're ahead of the rest of the world because they haven't colonization and slavery enslaves everybody. It doesn't just enslave the African, it enslaves everybody. Everybody is bound by the limitations of those systems. And so because they're not up under that, they're okay with the idea of seeing male and female on the same level. Like, my sister can challenge for the throne. Right. You know, so that concept is what you see in the movie. You see different types of beautiful women in the movie. You know, Denai, Lupita, Angela, and Letitia all are different types of women. So even though Wonder Woman that was a great conversation that was started. I don't know if I'm wrong for saying a DC comic right now, but this advances that, because you don't have just one image of what beauty and strength is.
My favorite character in the movie is played by Letitia Wright, Shuri, and I like her the best because she's not only hilarious, but she shows young black girls that they should own just how brilliant, creative, and capable they are of reaching every level of success.
Her character, she's smart. She's the tech genius of the family and for the whole community. And I feel that that's very important to you to portray that type of image for young women.
It's very important. I mean, when you lack something for so long, and when you find it in a film such as this, you grab hold of it. And I feel like a lot of young girls, no matter what your age may be, no matter what your color, you can really find positivity and light and love in Shuri that you can hold on to, and it can influence a young child, you know, a young person who is super smart at school, and maybe someone's calling them a nerd, maybe someone's telling them you're a teacher's pet, and then maybe they can look at this film and see Shuri, who loves to you know, use her mind as a weapon to help her nation and to be so smart to create and create gadgets and stuff that can change the world. Yeah. And that can be of inspiration to them to say, no, I am smart, I am intelligent, I'm not a nerd, I'm a world changer, and they can move forward.
It shows young Black children that you can be whatever you dream of, and that successful, powerful positions are not only reserved or saved for white people, and it shows African people as royalty, which creates a sense of pride and self-love, and the impact that will have and is having on the Black community. It goes beyond words. It inspires Black youth to be the superheroes in their own lives.
What are you gonna keep?
You could see the pain, like how the pain could hit you, but you could give it, like give positive energy towards the person who hit you with that negative pain. Yeah. I'm gonna use that towards school and life. Yeah.
Love that.
Given that, by his own admission, school hasn't been all that smooth for Gene. A review like this makes Joseph's heart sink. Clearly, Black Panther isn't just a movie.
Me, as a kid growing up, I never thought that I would see a Black superhero. You know, I love superheroes growing up. I'm gonna be honest. I love Batman, I love Superman, I love Spider-Man and Iron Man, but I never thought I could be them because they were always white Americans or white. So I kind of looked up more to like athletes and rappers and people in my neighborhood because they are one of color. So to see how powerful Black Panther is and how powerful his tribe was and his people around him, it just gave you like a sense of like, yes, not only can we be the President of the United States, Barack Obama, we can also be a superhero and Black Panther. That's so dope for me and so dope for my kids to see. In the grand scheme of things, and life is not a huge thing, but for us, where we grow up and the statistics and the people that's discrediting you, even our own shield us and hate on us and tell us we can't become this, and this is either slang Coke Rock or you got a wicked jump shot, a line from Biggie Smalls. Like, you know, they only tell you these are the only two options that you got. You know, so it's a huge deal for us that to say, well, not only can you, don't worry about doing that, you can become the President of the United States, you can become a doctor, you can become the greatest policeman, you can become a fireman, you can become Black Panther. Like, that stuff means so much for us because all we have is dreams. All we have is dreams. And when you have something that can make that dream become reality, either if it's a superhero or someone that made it out of your community, like myself, it allows us, our dreams, to become actuality.
It's important for kids. You know, that's one of the things that really moves me the most, is that kids are gonna get to consume material like this before the world tells them who they are, before they get all those isms placed on them and politics around their bodies that tell them, you know, what they can and can't be. They get to see a film like this with people who look like them, and not just, you know, people that they're told to like love or respect or be beautiful. Like, you know, it's people who look like their uncles, their aunts, their mothers, you know what I mean? People who look exactly like me, and they can see that and go, okay, my narratives are worthy of investment. Yeah. My narratives are worthy of, celebration. My narratives are worthy to be distributed and disseminated internationally, and that's beautiful. So they're gonna grow up not thinking that it's something new. They're not gonna have to go through this first African superhero.
There's this notion in Hollywood that minority films don't bring as much money to the box office when it comes to powering a film, and this movie completely shatters that notion. It's crossed the $900 million mark. I believe that was last week, and I think today, which is March 9th, it's supposed to pass the $1 billion mark worldwide in the box offices, and it's grossed over $500 million in North America and over $400 million in international box offices. It's the fifth Marvel Cinematic Universe title to reach the $900 million global mark, and in South Africa, Black Panther is the number 5 of all time release, and in East and West Africa, Black Panther is the highest grossing movie of all time. And I don't think that's fully because it's a superhero movie or it's because, it's a Marvel movie. I think it's because people want to see all black casts. We want to see black excellence on the screen. We want to see a true representation of what it means to be black and not shown through a white lens. We want to see black people making black movies and becoming successful, to show black people that they can be successful, and there's nothing wrong with that, and you shouldn't hold back.
There weren't that many, black writers that were getting a chance to actually get put on. And that's what it is. It's at conception. You know what I'm saying? If a writer's only interaction with a person of color is like, serving you coffee or taking out your trash or being, a stereotypical, figure, then that's what they're going to write. That's what they're going to actually put on paper.
And can't even think beyond that.
Exactly. So when you get more, people of color, behind the camera, producing, that's actually controlling the narrative, then you're going to start to see like a true representation of self on screen, and that's kind of what we've been doing.
The history of Hollywood didn't look like me. The people who are writing and creating films historically have not looked like me. Sidney Poitier came and broke barriers back in the day, and we are still breaking barriers. That's why we have a moment like this with Black Panther, the first superhero first black superhero in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And so I'm aware that most people in the industry don't look like me and may not be thinking for me, thinking about me, and thinking of me when they're writing this stuff. We come from a continent of great wealth, but a continent that has been assaulted and abused very often and exploited. And so oftentimes what colonialism did is that it rewrote our history and changed our narrative. And so our global narrative is one of poverty and strife, and the wealth of the continent is very seldom seen on such a global scale. So what this film does really, it looks cool, it looks futuristic, but it's drawing from ancient cultures on the continent very specifically. The diversity in this film is specifically from the continent, inspired by the continent, and like accelerated into a future. And Wakanda is special because it was never colonized. So what we can see there for all of us, it's a reimagining of what would have been possible had Africa had Africa been allowed to realize itself for itself,
Listen, man, this is the beginning of a change. This is the beginning of a change, and the importance of this movie is not just for little brown boys and girls, but for all boys and girls to know that superheroes come in all colors. Come in all colors.
Yes,
see, they haven't really known this, and this is the beginning of that valley.
I want to end this video off by showing a few clips of the director, Ryan Coogler, speaking about the film that he made. And if you have seen it already, please just go see it again, see it as many times as possible. If you haven't seen it, you need to go see it, because no matter your race, your age, your gender, it will have a strong impact on you, and it's extremely inspirational. So I really encourage you to go see it as many times as you can and just support this movement because it's more than a movie. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Wakanda forever.
You know, in the 90s, you know, you had these incredibly talented, you know, African American actors. You know, you had Denzel, you had Wesley Snipes, and you had Will Smith, who were capable of like having movies on their who were just crazy talented. They were capable of having blockbuster movies on their own. They could green like almost anything, you know. And they could play in action movies, or they could play in dramas. You know what I'm saying? Like, but for whatever reason, I don't know the reason. You know what I'm saying? Like they never did movies together. You know, and I don't know. Like, you have to ask them why that was. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure they could tell you. You know, but I used to really want to see, like, as a kid, I wanted to see like the Denzel Will Smith movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted to see like what that would, you know, I feel like it was like kind of robbed of that. You know what I mean?
Is that normally the only one, right?
Yeah, that
in the cast, sort of thing.
Yeah, it would be like the movie could only afford one of them or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you know, yeah, man, it's dope because the kids coming up, and I think that generation of artists coming up are gonna recognize like that the collaboration and the humility. You know what I'm saying? Because for movie stars, man, it's an act of humility to jump in a movie with each other. You know what I mean? And so I was moved by that, and I think that for the youngsters coming up, it won't be like that for them. They'd be like, oh yeah, we saw the movie with Chad and Mike and Daniel, and you know, like when everybody kind of hopped in on the same thing. You know, and I felt incredibly blessed to have a cast that we, you know, that we did.
Who gon' pray for me? Take my pain for me. Save my soul for me. 'Cause I'm alone.